Hello everyone and welcome to a new tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to make a hunger system just like the one you would find in Minecraft or any other survival game in Fortnite Creative. Just like you'll see on the map I'm currently in, I go through the door and then I get 10 bacon, which would represent the food meter pretty much. And when this food meter reaches 0, my health will start decreasing if I don't have anything to eat. We'll just wait for it to, get to 0. 1 and gets to 0 and I don't have any meat, so it will just start killing me pretty much. But then I grab some food and it will consume 1 of that food that I just grabbed, and it will regen my health meter pretty much. So you can use the meat and eat it if you are in need of health, but that's pretty much how the system will work. So yeah, let's get started. So the devices we're going to use are 1 mutator zone, 1 sequencer, 3 triggers, 1 class selector, 2 item granters, and 2 conditional buttons. Actually, I forgot to say that you also need a health power up, so yeah, keep that in mind and add that to the list. Okay, so first we're gonna start by setting up the part of the system that requires a sequencer and 2 triggers. Go somewhere where the players cannot interact or hear the devices and place them this way. One of the triggers will be at the beginning of the sequencer and the other one is gonna be at the end, and then copy these settings. Set the looping for the sequencer to infinite and change the activate on game phase to game start. For the triggers, we're just going to choose an available channel for them to transmit to when they're activated by the sequencer. This is going to tell the mutator zone when to activate and when to deactivate. Now let's set up the mutator zone. We're going to put the mutator zone at the bottom of the map at the lowest point and then copy these settings. The zone's max width, depth, and height are really important because we want the zone to be all over the map. That way you can have functional hunger everywhere. But if you feel like your map is way too big and one zone isn't enough, then try filling the gaps that you have. Don't let the zones cross with each other, be inside another one or something like that, because that will mess up the entire system. Now, the selected class won't be affected by the hunger. This is just in case you want to have like a little safe zone at the start of the game, and then when the players want to start the game officially, they just get out of the zone, they get the hunger meter, and pretty much have functional hunger. For this to work, make sure that the default class identifier on the game settings is the same as the one you'll use on the mutator zone settings. Now we'll continue with disabling the visual effects. And in the enable and disable options, we're going to use the same channels that we used in the triggers on the sequencer. Also, put an available channel where the mutator zone is going to transmit to when it detects a player inside the zone. What we've made so far, it's a loop that makes the mutator zone turn on and off, and when it detects someone's inside, it will send another signal. That's where the fun begins. Before we continue, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It helps me a lot and you can change your mind whenever you like. Now we're going to use the third and last trigger at the exit of our starting point. At the beginning of the video I said the quantity of the triggers may vary, but this is because you can have multiple exits to your starting area, so yeah, keep that in mind. You can use any type of triggers. Also notice that this is not pre-game, this is the start of the game. Your players will have to go through this part before starting the whole experience. So here are the settings. Keep in mind that the activating class is the same class that you picked in the mutator zone. We're also going to make this trigger transmit to a channel that we have not used before. Once we're done setting up the trigger, we're going to use the class selector, put it somewhere players cannot see it, and use these settings. The class it will switch the player to, it's any class but the one you selected on the mutator zone. And the channel that will activate the class selector is the same one that the trigger at the starting area transmits to. Now we're going to set up the 2 item granters. The first one is really simple to set up. It will pretty much just give you the food meter at the beginning of the game when you get out of your starting area. So make sure it keeps the inventory when it grants the item. and make it grant the item when you go through the exit of the starting area. Keep in mind that the item this item granter gives, it's the one that will represent the food meter, so make sure to choose a resource from the consumables tab. As you can see here, I chose bacon, but you can choose any other resource. Also, the amount of that one resource that you pick and put into the item granter will determine how long the food meter will be. I made it so that the player only starts with plain bacon, but you can change it up to, you know, as many as you like. 100, 200, well, I don't know if 200 is possible, but you get the point. For the second item granter, we're going to make it give the same amount of resources that the first item granter does. So if you pick 10 at the first item granter, then you're going to put 10 of the same resource in this second item granter. After that, just change these settings to keep all of the inventory when it grants the item, and make it grant the item when receiving from an unused channel. Now we're going to set up the two conditional buttons. The first conditional button will be constantly reducing your food meter, so make sure it's reset, delay it's none, and make it activate when your mutator zone detects someone is inside. Also make it transmit on an unused channel when the player has not enough items. And make sure to add the item that represents the food meter to the conditional button. Now in the second conditional button, we'll drop an item that will serve as food. So when the player's food meter runs out and it does not have this item, then the player's health will start decreasing. To make this work, in this channel place the same channel that you used in the previous conditional button when the player runs out of the resource. In this option, we're going to set the same channel that activates the second item granter. And lastly, we'll put an unused channel to this setting over here. Now for the health power up, that's going to be the one responsible for you losing health when you don't have food. We're just going to place that where players cannot see or pick it and use these settings. The effect magnitude will be the quantity of health that you'll lose if you don't have food, so you can change that to whatever you want. If you want it to be hardcore, you can put it to 25, but that depends on you. And the pickup channel will be the one that we used in the last conditional button. So that's the end of the tutorial. Hope you guys found it useful, and if you did, it would be much appreciated if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me and inspires me to make more tutorials and other type of content. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll answer them. And if you have any requests for other tutorial videos, then do the same. That being said, see you guys in the next video.